What's up, family? Your good sis is back. What is up? It's time for y'all to tune in. It's time for y'all to get connected. It's time for us to tap into our vulnerability. It's time for us to tap into our vulnerability. What's up? Want y'all to come on into the room. When you get here, say what's up. Say hey to your girl. What's up to the family? We got to talk about vulnerability, right? It has been coming up a lot in my coaching sessions. It's coming up in my own personal life, and the understandings that I have to come to continue transforming my life and continue healing different areas of my life. So I want to talk about it with y'all. We're about to talk about vulnerability. Talk about vulnerability, how to get comfortable with being vulnerable, how to get comfortable with being honest. Before we do that, we're going to cleanse the space, light some incense, all of that good stuff like that. But we got to talk about vulnerability. We got to talk about honesty, openness, and we got to talk about some different ways that I can help you to get comfortable with vulnerability. Before we get into it, let me say hey to my people. What's up over here on, what do we have? Over here on IG, I got my sisters over here. I got Iman. I got my girl, the Alchemist, my good sis that I just love. Iman, you know I love you too. Thank you for always showing your love. Both of you, thank you. Over here on YouTube, we got Queen Mother Deja. What's up, Queen Mother? What's up, Red Ribbons? Red's Ribbon. What's up, Erica? What is up, Will? What's up, Love? Hey, y'all, we got to talk about vulnerability. If I can find the lighter to cleanse this space, Dream Wise must have moved it. If I can't find a lighter, then we'll be good. All good vibes, anyways. We got to get into this topic of vulnerability. Like I said, in a lot of my coaching sessions, first of all, it's in order for you to heal, the first step is vulnerability. The first step is honesty, openness, and being able to reveal the hurts that you felt, the experiences that you've had, the truth of the matter, right? You got to be able to express that. I cannot, oh, I found a lighter, right? So the first step in transformation, thank you, love, for telling me it's a small lighter right here. It is. Found it. And it's purple. Love purple. Purple and yellow, two favorite colors, right? So we definitely have to understand what vulnerability is, why it is so important, and how it can help you to transform your life, help you to transform your relationships. So necessary. It's so necessary, right? We got to first learn how to be vulnerable with ourselves, meaning be honest with ourselves about how we feel, about what we're thinking, about what we have going on. So, cleansing the space, cleansing my own energy so that I come here ready to give my absolute best. And let's tap in. So, first, we're going to tap into the definition of vulnerability. And of course, we're going to tap in with The Functionary by Dr. Blind, right? The Functionary by Dr. Blind. I'm going to read the definition for vulnerability because I want us to have a clear understanding of what that is before we jump all the way into this topic. So, again, shout out to all of y'all who are here. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you. Like and share the video. Like and share the video. This information is universal information, right? And just like you can use it, somebody that you love, somebody that you know can use the information as well. All right? So, vulnerability. Dr. Blind says vulnerability is a delicate kind of openness. A delicate kind of openness. Delicate means gentle, right? It means vulnerability is the key which opens the gateway between thinking and feeling. Vulnerability is the key that opens the gateway between thinking and feeling. Oh, I already know, Spirit. Thank you. It says people are most vulnerable when going through a state of transformation or transition. There is nothing more vulnerable than something in the process of becoming something else. There is nothing more vulnerable than something in the process of becoming something else. Woo! That's heavy. That's heavy. Wow. Hold on. Let me tell you something else this says. It says, once you leave the realm of thought and stench to absolutist thinking and enter the sphere of feeling realization, the kingdom of the heart is but a breath away. Once you leave the realm of thinking and get into the feeling realization, the kingdom of the heart is but a breath away. Meaning, being in your heart, being in your feeling, being in your truth opens you up to receive the abundance of royalty, so to speak. Okay? It says, if paradoxically, the degree to which we expose ourselves is the degree to which the universe protects us. Somebody needs to be doing a hand clap in the chat or something. Okay? The degree to which we expose ourselves is the degree to which the universe protects us. Somebody needs to hear that. Hell, I needed to hear that. Come on, Dr. Blind. The more you are open to exposing your truth, your feelings, your thought, the more the universe can protect you. I will tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Why? Because your truth, your experience, your honesty, your expression opens the gateway for others to be able to express their truth. Your truth, your expression, right? Okay, they're saying message. Okay, computer. Your truth, your expression, your vulnerability creates space for others to do the same. Your truth, your vulnerability, your expression allows for others to understand that they too can overcome, can transform, can heal, can be made anew. And so when you are able to be vulnerable, you create a domino effect of healing and transformation for others. That's power. The universe has to protect you in that. The universe has to protect you in that because you are doing something that is cosmically changing and shifting the world around you. The book that I'm reading from is The Functionary by Dr. Blind. You have to reach out to him personally to get it. I can't exactly tell you how. Dreamwise is the person that got it for our family. Okay. It says, if you are alive, then you're relieved, living in vulnerability, certainly protected in the face of uncertainty. Ownership, identification, and attachment are the hallmarks of ego. Let go. See, when you're afraid to be vulnerable, you're still stuck in your ego. This sense of false protection. When you are afraid to be vulnerable, essentially you are stuck in your ego and you think that you have this false sense of protection. And this false sense of protection is putting up a blockage, right? It's putting a roadblock in between you connecting with you and you connecting with others. This false sense of protection, this inability to be vulnerable, okay? This false sense of protection, this inability to be vulnerable is your ego. It is fear. I can tell you right now from experience that vulnerability is not easy. But once you understand these few things that I'm going to talk to you about today, you will see and realize and recognize that vulnerability is your only way out. Vulnerability is your only way to healing the relationship that you have with self, and it is your only way to heal your relationship with others. You have to be able to express how you feel and really go beyond thought, because it is our thoughts of how a person is going to perceive what we're thinking and what we're feeling. It is our thoughts of judgment, our thoughts of rejection, our thoughts of our fear of how a person is going to react that stops us from being vulnerable. It is our fear of ourselves that stops us from being vulnerable. We are afraid. Many people who are unable to be vulnerable, who are unable to seep into their hearts, are afraid of themselves. And so the first step in getting comfortable with vulnerability is being alone. So many people, myself included in the past, have been afraid of being alone, have been afraid of the quietness, have been afraid of having to engage with myself, of having to analyze my thinking, of having to analyze my feeling, of having to analyze my trauma and my reactions to it. That shit's, I mean, to have to sit with yourself and be honest about how your experiences have affected you. It's not light work, but it's necessary work. It is not light work, but it is necessary work. To really surrender into your heart. To come out of the thought, come out of the realm of thought, come out of the realm of judgment, come out of the realm of analytics, and into the space of feeling, into the space of sensing. So one of the first things you got to do in order to get comfortable with vulnerability, to transform your life and to transform your relationships, is you got to spend time alone. You have to spend time alone. You have to spend time in the quiet of yourself. Okay? This doesn't have to be sitting down in a meditative pose like, it don't have to be that, family. Going for a walk in the morning. No headphones, no music playing, nothing like that. Just you inside of yourself. Going for a walk, going for a drive without music, right? What else can we do? Your spiritual bath. Just being intentional about being alone and being quiet. This is one of the first things that you have to do in order to get comfortable with vulnerability. Because what that space of being alone is going to do for you is going to help you to realize that the way that you feel and the way that you think is nothing to fear. The way that you think and the way that you feel is nothing to fear. And if in that alone time you discover that there's something that needs to be changed, that there's something to be transformed, it is knowing that you are equipped with the skills and with the know-how to do so. And if you don't have the skills, you have the resources to call somebody, to get on YouTube, you have inner resources that can guide you to the answers that you need to support the transformation of those thoughts and of those feelings. Okay? But the very first step in getting comfortable with vulnerability in order to transform your life and transform your relationships is not being afraid of being alone. Understand that loneliness is an illusion. You got spirit guides, ancestors, angels, nature all around you that is always in constant communication with you. You got spirit guides, ancestors, angels, nature who are always ready and available to be a listening ear to you, who are always ready and available to exchange information with you based off of what you are thinking and feeling. Okay? So the first step is being comfortable with being alone. And I'm not talking about being alone in the sense of I'm by myself, but I'm on my phone or I'm watching TV. No. Being on your phone, watching TV, listening to music, all of that, that's not loneliness. That's distraction. That's not being alone. That's distraction because you're still being entertained with the music. You're still being entertained by YouTube. You're still being entertained by the TV. Okay? I'm talking about being alone and not having anything but yourself, your thoughts, and your feelings. You have to become intentional about creating that space. You have to become intentional about creating that space to hear your thoughts and to feel your feelings. First step in getting comfortable with vulnerability. Okay? Because in that space, this is when you start having that internal dialogue and where you get to really hear what it is that you're thinking, feel what it is that you're feeling. You get to be honest with yourself. It's just you. Okay? So being alone gives you the opportunity to not be afraid of you. Being alone and being vulnerable in that space allows you to become secure within yourself. See, so many of us have been insecure with ourselves, not really loving and accepting ourselves, that we attract relationships with other insecure people. In the relationships that we are in, they highlight our insecurity. They shed light on our insecurity. And then we're not able to be vulnerable about that. Okay? So first step is you got to be alone. Second step that I need y'all to understand is that vulnerability is freedom. So many of us have been living behind a mask, a false perception. Okay? We think we know. We think we got it all figured out. We put on this face of confidence. We put on this face of happiness. We put on this face of joy. We put on this face of having it all figured out. But in all reality, there's some shit that we just don't know, that we just don't get. And that's okay. Okay? Vulnerability allows you to remove that mask, which inevitably means you get to be free to just be you. Okay? So you've already spent some time alone. So you already know what it is you're truly thinking and what it is you're truly feeling. You already got that clear, right? So now when you tap into the expression of those things, you get to experience freedom. True freedom is being able to be your authentic self. Vulnerability is the gateway to freedom. So many of us are not being ourselves, not speaking our truth. Okay? Why? Again, because we are afraid of judgment, because we are afraid of rejection, we are afraid of the reaction to our expression of self. I'm here to let you know that your vulnerability is your freedom. And here's the beautiful thing. In your honesty, in your truth, in opening up your heart, really, see, some of you, I know this because I work with you on a regular basis, and I know this because I'm working on myself, right? We're afraid to admit our hurts and our pains from our past, not even our present. We're afraid to admit our hurts and our pains from our past. And so when things show up in our present, we project those experiences on the people we're relating with. We blame. You're not doing this, so I'm feeling this. You did this, so that made me do this. Vulnerability is being able to say, when I was a kid, I was unseen. And so when I act out like this is because I want you to see me. Vulnerability is the gateway to freedom. See, if you cannot express that, you are still being held hostage. You are still being held captive to those childhood traumatic experiences. And then they show up within your relationships. They show up within your personal life. Okay? And you're wondering, why the hell is this going on? Why am I having this experience? Why am I feeling like this? Why am I in this space right now? It's because you haven't been vulnerable enough with yourself to express what you've been through, to express how you felt, and to express how those experiences has shaped your thinking, how those experiences have shaped your perception, how those experiences have shaped your feelings, and how you view the world. Vulnerability and that openness and that honesty is the gateway to your freedom, to your emotional freedom, to your mental freedom. This is how you become sovereign as a being and how you are no longer held captive to those past experiences. When you cannot express the hurts that you felt, when you cannot express your joys because somebody's going to be jealous, when you cannot express what is resonating true within you, you are held captive mentally and emotionally. And this shows itself in your relationships. This shows itself in your everyday life. Okay? So you have to really understand and really sit with the fact that vulnerability is freedom. Vulnerability is truth. Vulnerability is allowing yourself to be the expression of your divinity. Vulnerability is allowing yourself to be the expression of your divinity. Because here's what I want you to know. Every experience that you've had up until this point was shaping you and molding you to fully live as the divine being that you innately are. But when you cannot express that, you're held captive to the past. And you're not really in your power. Okay? So I need you to really let that sit in your spirit. The next thing that I need y'all to understand about vulnerability is that vulnerability gives space for growth. Vulnerability gives space for growth. If you are not willing to be vulnerable, if you're not willing to say, I don't know, if you're not willing to say, I've been hurt, this is how I'm thinking, and clearly my thoughts are not in alignment with what I'm trying to manifest. If you're not willing to express those things, you're not ready to grow. Vulnerability gives space for growth. Vulnerability gives space for growth. Being able to be honest about where you are and where you want to be. Okay? Here's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling neglected. I'm feeling misunderstood. I'm feeling whatever. If you are not able to be vulnerable, if you're not able to say, you know what, I don't know, I need help, you're not willing to grow, family. Okay? And growth is where transformation lies. Growth and evolution is where the change in your life and in your relationships actually takes place. Okay? So being honest about where you fell short, being honest about where you may have made a mistake, being honest on how you feel and how you are thinking allows you to analyze everything that's going on around you and make the adjustments that you need to make to get to where you got to go. But if we're not vulnerable, we cannot truly identify where I am right now and where I'm trying to go in the future. Okay? If we're not able to be vulnerable, we keep going in circles. We keep going in circles and not making progress forward. Okay? Vulnerability is being able to express your truth and do it in spite of how you think others may respond or react. Because here's what you got to understand. The response of others is not your business. But how you respond and how you react is your business. Vulnerability is expressing your truth regardless. Vulnerability is expressing your truth, expressing your thoughts, expressing your feelings regardless of how someone is going to take it. Okay? That's a part of vulnerability. Here's another thing that I need y'all to understand. Vulnerability builds trust and intimacy with self first. See, a lot of times when you're not able to express how you feel and how you actually think, yourself, your higher self, your divine self doesn't even trust you because you cannot even admit to yourself what is. You cannot even admit to yourself how you're feeling and how you're thinking. And I know it's hard Because sometimes when we have to admit how we're thinking and how we're feeling, that means our reality gets shaken up. That means the life that we've created gets shaken up. That means that there's changes that need to be made within our lives and within our relationships. Okay? And sometimes those changes that have to be made are scary. Okay? Because those changes make you venture into the unknown. Those changes make you venture into uncharted territory. And so instead of being honest about how you think, instead of being honest about how you feel, you'd rather lie to yourself, which creates a lack of intimacy and trust within self. Okay? But when we can be vulnerable, when we can open our hearts, okay? Because vulnerability is about what dwells in the heart, not about what's dwelling in the mind. Because as you all know, your mind is directly, a part of your mind, what we call the conscious mind, is connected to the ego. And the ego always serves to protect self and to protect others. Okay? And so when we are in our minds, we're not really speaking our truth. We're speaking what sounds good. We're speaking to protect ourselves. Okay? We got to protect our hearts. We got to shield our hearts. We don't want to be hurt. We don't want to be misunderstood. We don't want to be abandoned. We don't want to be rejected. Okay? Vulnerability is about seeping down into the heart and understanding that regardless, you're going to be all right. You're going to transform. You're going to change. You're going to be made anew. You're going to transform. You're going to be changed. You're going to be made anew, but you're going to be all right. Okay? Vulnerability allows you to create trust and intimacy with yourself. Thank you. Vulnerability allows you to create trust and intimacy with yourself. Once you get a little glimpse of trust, you can become more vulnerable. The more vulnerable you can become, the greater your trust. The more vulnerable you can become, the greater your ability to trust. If you cannot be vulnerable with yourself and you cannot be vulnerable within your relationships, you don't have trust. And sometimes being vulnerable is saying the things that your partner may not like. It's saying the things to yourself that you may not like. But at the end of the day, it's going to lead to greater trust. And that's what we all want. That's what we all are seeking for. Greater trust, greater intimacy. And I like to say intimacy really means into me see. When we are vulnerable, we are allowing ourselves to see into us, see into me see, intimacy. When we are in relationships, we are allowing our partner to see into us, to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, the beautiful as well. So when we're being vulnerable, we're allowing ourselves to be seen for who we truly are. Ooh, that's hard. I know. Trust me. I know. It can be challenging. But I'm telling you, once you allow that intimacy to take place, once you allow that vulnerability to take place, and let whatever needs to be said, let whatever needs to be done happen, you will be set free. Set free to be. Set free to be who you are. You'll be set free. Okay? So in being vulnerable, you need to be able to see into yourself, to see your good and your bad, your beautiful and your ugly, your greatness and your shortcomings. And then you allow the people you are in relationships with to see those things too. And if there is real love there, love created by the divine, love created by the Most High, your higher self, if there's real love there, there will be acceptance there as well. There'll be acceptance there. Okay? And just because one accepts doesn't mean that there's not transformation that needs to happen. There are some aspects about me that have been ugly. Okay? There's some aspects about you that have been ugly. And that's one thing that you need to be able to admit to yourself. I just told you mine. There's been some aspects about me, there's been some aspects about you that are not cute. It's not cute. But if I can be honest and shed light on those things, now I can actually take the steps to transform it. That's what vulnerability grants you. Vulnerability grants you the ability to transform those things that aren't so pretty. Because if you're not willing to look at it, if you're not willing to feel it, if you're not really willing to contemplate on it, you're not willing to change it. You can't change it. You cannot change, you cannot heal what you refuse to reveal. And so you keep going on, fighting the same fight over and over and over again. Blaming, shaming, guilty. All of that shit. You keep on doing the same things over and over and over again because you refuse to look at yourself. Who? I get it. Been there, done that, and still working through it. Been there, done that. Somebody was calling y'all, excuse me, on Instagram. Been there, done that, and still working through it. This work is never ending. Because we're always having experiences that are impacting our thoughts and that are impacting our feelings. We're always having new experiences that are shaping our perception of the world. In 10, 20, 30 years down the line, you'll still be viewing the world from that same lens, but your life, your relationships, your divinity is calling you to have a new perception. It's calling you to view the world differently. And so you'll always be in a space where you need to be vulnerable with yourself and you need to be vulnerable with the people that you are closest with, because it is that vulnerability that's going to allow you to shift perspective. Okay? This is why I love the work that I do so much, because the people who I work with, the women and the men that I work with on a daily basis, are such great reflections to me of vulnerability and of honesty and of willingness. And I appreciate y'all. I appreciate all my clients. I love you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to operate in my purpose and in my passion and do the thing that I've been called to do. Thank you. Thank you for showing me that healing is possible, that transformation is possible. Thank you for showing me that you can ask for help, that I can ask for help. Thank you for showing me that help is always on the way. Like Abraham Hicks would always say, it's okay, help's on the way. Thank you for showing me that. To all my spiritual healing coaching clients, thank y'all for that. Okay? Thank you for being vulnerable and expressing yourself to me and letting me be a safe space for you. Thank you. It means a lot. It really touches my heart. Vulnerability, family, gives space for empathy and understanding. If you're not willing to be vulnerable, you're not willing to be understood. I know that was something that I had to deal with a lot and that I still work through. Okay? Feeling understood or feeling misunderstood. Y'all know Nina Simone, but I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh my God, that is so me. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. Vulnerability is what gives space for understanding. But see, you got to come from the heart. You got to come from the heart. But I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. Y'all, that's so beautiful. Here's the reason why we're misunderstood. This is what I'm realizing in my own work. The reason why we're misunderstood is because we're coming from here. And I talk to my clients about this on a regular basis. Whenever you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody that you love, you gotta surrender into the heart, because otherwise you just ego battling. Otherwise you just ego fighting, trauma fighting. That's it. My trauma is fighting your trauma. Your trauma is fighting their trauma. And we're just going back and forth. Shadow boxing. That's what I like to call it. We're just shadow boxing. Okay? And it's because we're communicating from here. We're expressing ourselves from here and not from here. There's a difference. Okay? Because up here is where we have all of these different fragments of self. Here in our minds, in our thinking, is where we have all of these different fragments of self. Your 5-year-old self, your 10-year-old self, your 20-year-old self. All of these different fragments that you've had to break yourself up into in order for your survival. This is what y'all got to understand. Within your thinking is many aspects of you. Within your thinking is many aspects of you. You got your empathetic self, your loving self, your nurturing self, but then you also got your warrior self, your protector self, your abandoned self, your rejected self. And so when you're communicating from here, who knows what part of you are presenting for your protection? I need y'all to understand this. I need you to understand this. When you are communicating from that ego mind, you could be coming from your 5-year-old self, your 6-year-old self, your 3-year-old self, from that part of you who has experienced trauma, from that part of you who has created these beliefs about the world and about yourself. Okay? That's where you're coming from. But when you go into your heart to communicate, when you go into your heart and you allow your vulnerability, your truth, your openness to step forward, okay? When you do that, when you allow yourself to be set free, you get to speak from your compassionate, your understanding, your loving self. That part of you who wants the best for you and who wants the best for others as well. Okay? And so you got to be able to tell the difference. This is what I tell people. This is what I tell people that especially my clients, because we talk about this all the time, and I got to put it to use too, y'all. Okay? It's a matter of seeping down into your heart space. Okay? It's a matter of getting out of thought and getting into feeling. It's a matter of going into the depths of your heart. You'll know when you're there. Because when you get there, when you get to the bottom of your heart, right? Which is where your real truth lies. When you get to the bottom of your heart, emotion is going to come up. A certain stillness is going to come up. A certain quietness is going to come up. And it is that part of you that needs to be expressed. But oftentimes what happens is we get into that depths of our hearts and we don't want to continue to feel, so we jump up into the mind. I want y'all to try this one day. I want you to try this. And I'm going to talk about this in the masterclass that I'm doing in August, How to Heal from Toxic Relationships. Whenever you are talking to somebody that you love and that you want to, maintain a relationship with, or somebody that you have to release, but you want to release them in love, I want you to visualize. This is a technique that I want y'all to use. I want you to visualize that person in front of you. And I want you to go to that space in your heart, into that deep, sensitive spot that is sometimes difficult to let express itself. But I want you to go to that space, and in your visualization, I want you to communicate with whoever it is that you brought up in front of you. Okay? I want you to communicate with that person. I want you to communicate with that to the situation. I just want you to express yourself deeply. And I want you to see what that feels like. And then what I want you to do, right, is stay fully aware when you're having that conversation in real time and in real life. Because you'll notice the difference. And when you notice the difference, this is when you know I need to shift. I need to seep down and surrender into my heart. Okay? I want y'all to try it. I want y'all to try. I've had many clients try this same technique using me, seeing me as the person who they have to talk to. And I noticed them get into that spot deep in their heart right before they're about to talk. And then I feel the shift. Okay? And then I feel the shift. Thank you for the love, Melissa. Right? I feel that shift coming up. They start talking, and then it starts to get all logical. And I'm like, hold on. You shifted. You went there because I felt the emotion come up from you. I saw the emotion come up in your spirit, in your energy. I saw the emotion. I saw the truth. I saw the vulnerability come up within you. But because that vulnerability can be hard, because you have to say the ways that you've been hurt, what you want in the future, what it is you truly think and feel. Because that vulnerability is hard, because you think in that expression you'll be judged, in that expression you'll be rejected, in that expression you won't be accepted. Okay? Because you feel that, right? Because you feel that fear comes up and you go into thinking. You go into the mental space. You go into the protecting mode. You go into ego. You go into the fractal self. Okay? So I want you guys to understand that when you can surrender into your heart, this is how you open up the space for you to truly be understood and for there to be a certain level of empathy between you and whoever you're relating with, and between you and yourself. Okay? There's a certain level of empathy and understanding that gets to come from that space. But when you're communicating from ego, because you're protecting yourself and because you are afraid of being vulnerable, because you are afraid of being weak, you are afraid of expressing your truth, because you're supposed to be a man, because you're supposed to be a woman, and you're not supposed to feel like this, all of these lies we tell ourselves. When you speak from here, you automatically trigger the other person to go into ego battle with you, to go into shadow boxing with you. So in order for you to transform your relationships, you have to allow yourself to surrender into your heart and be okay with the emotion that is coming up with it. Because when you become okay with the emotion that is coming up with it, this is where your healing lies. When you get to say, you know what, this experience is reminding me of my 6-year-old self, my 5-year-old self, and the feelings that I had when I had those experiences. Now you give space to have understanding with you and understanding within your relationship, which actually leads to your transformation and which actually leads to the transformation of your relationship. Okay? Vulnerability. Alrighty? So just to recap for y'all real quick. You have to get comfortable with vulnerability if you want to transform your life and if you want to transform your relationships. Why? Because vulnerability is the gateway to freedom. We've been living and existing with this mask of protection. I have to be this person. I got to smile even when I don't feel like it. Okay? We've had this protection, this mask over ourselves. And it's made us go against who we truly are and how we truly feel. It's made us go against ourselves because we've been afraid of judgment, of rejection, of a lack of acceptance, and we've been afraid of how another person is going to respond and react to us. And so instead of being vulnerable, we show up how we think another person wants us to show up. We show up how we think the world sees that we should be, or how the world has said we should be. Okay? And we continue creating a life that is unfulfilling, a life that is unhappy, a life that lacks joy, a life that lacks honesty and purity. Okay? That's how we show up. But the first thing you have to understand in order to be okay and comfortable in your vulnerability is that you have to spend time alone. Spend time with your thoughts, spend time with your feelings. It's so necessary. And when I'm saying spend time alone, I'm saying put that phone down, turn the TV off. You don't need no music. You don't need nothing. Just sit there and ask yourself questions. The only thing I would recommend you have is a journal and a pen, a journal and a pencil, so that you can write down some of the things that come up. All right. So that's what you got to get to get comfortable with vulnerability. You got to get comfortable with self, how you truly feel and how you truly think. When we do this, this is what's going to create that sense of freedom. This is what's going to create our ability to show up as our divine selves. Vulnerability opens you up to your own divinity and to your own power. Okay? It allows you to understand that your past experiences, your past feelings, your past trauma, all of those things have shaped you to be the divine being that you are today. No experience has went against you, but you go against yourself when you don't honor the truth of how you feel and the truth of how you think. Okay? You go against yourself. And when you're going against yourself, you're going against your own innate power, your own innate abilities. Okay? And then when you do this, you're creating a life that is unfulfilling. You're creating a life that is not in alignment with what you truly have seen for yourself. Okay? So vulnerability opens the door to freedom. Freedom to be who you are. Freedom to be you. Freedom to feel. Freedom to think. Freedom to flow. Okay? Vulnerability creates space for growth. And so you have to really understand that when I am able to express what I'm thinking, when I'm able to express how I'm feeling, I get to analyze if those thoughts and feelings are in alignment with what I want. And if it is not, I have the opportunity to transform. Same thing in relationships. If I'm vulnerable and I'm open and I'm honest about what I'm truly feeling within my relationships, we get to make some adjustments so that we can have the relationship and the experience that we truly want. But a lot of times we've been afraid to express our trauma. We've been afraid to express how our past experiences have shaped how we think and view the world. Okay? We gotta be great. We gotta be awesome. We gotta be happy. We gotta be joyful. We gotta be gods and goddesses. Okay? It's all an illusion. All you have to be is be honest with yourself and truthful with yourself, and allow that honesty and allow that truth to connect with the people that you are in relationship with. This is how you are going to be able to determine who you really want to be in relationship with. If a person is not willing and able to accept your truth, then there needs to be adjustments made in that relationship. But your expression of truth has to come from your heart and not from your mind. Because otherwise, you're just fighting each other's shadows and you're both just trying to protect yourselves. And when you're trying to protect yourselves, this is not space for healthy, loving, kind relationships. You gotta get into the heart of the matter. You gotta be vulnerable. In this vulnerability, you create empathy and understanding. Okay? I can understand you, I can see where you're coming from, and I can accept who you are because now I understand what experiences have shaped you to be who you are. Okay? Now I can support you in healing, in transforming, so that you can be the man or woman that you want to be. Okay? But if we're never able to say, this was my experience, this is how I feel, and this is how I think, then we're constantly relating to a false perception of a person. We're constantly in relationship with each other's shadows and each other's mask. Okay? Vulnerability allows you to create true intimacy and true trust. In order for you to do that, you have to be willing to see into yourself. Intimacy is into me see. So vulnerability is you allowing someone to see into you, to see into who you truly are, and not being afraid of the consequences or repercussions of them seeing you. Because if they see you and they don't accept you, then they're not the person for you. It just is what it is. But again, you have to allow them to see into you, truly, fully, good, bad, and ugly. Not just the awesome parts of you, because again, they're only relating to one part of you. Okay? So I hope that gives you guys some clarity on why vulnerability is so important, and some understandings that you have to come to, some truths you have to come to in order for you to transform your life and transform your relationships. There's a delicate openness that you have to tap into in order for you to do that. All right. So I'm challenging y'all to that. If you have any questions, y'all leave them in the comments. All right. I want to get back to y'all. For y'all who are on YouTube, when the video is over, type them in the comments. I wanna talk to y'all. I want to have a conversation about it, because vulnerability is not easy. It's not easy. Nobody said it was easy, but it's possible. Okay. For those of you who are on Instagram, when this video is over, let me know in the comments something that really triggered you in this conversation, something that really stood out to you, something that really resonated with you. Let me know. All of you who are in these comments, let me know, who are in the live. Let me know in the comments. And this is on YouTube and on Instagram. Let me know in the comments, what is something that I said that really resonated with you, that really touched your heart, that you would possibly like to expand on. Let's continue the conversation. All right. I love y'all. Again, you know where to reach me. If you need support on this spiritual journey, you know where to reach me. The link is in the bio. I look forward to speaking with y'all and growing with y'all, and helping y'all to reach the spiritual, mental, emotional, and behavioral goals that you have set. I look forward to supporting you and manifesting the relationships you desire, the relationship with yourself that you desire. All right. So let me know what's up in the comments when the video ends. I want to continue the conversation. Let's talk about it. I love you all. Like and share the video, and we'll talk soon. Peace.